Hey guys, Steph Mishchuk with Killer Sites. So I'm going to answer a couple of questions that were put to me on a recent YouTube video. Okay, so this person writes, unfortunately I forget his name, Soren3, Mahai Soren3 writes, I mostly focus on studying programming and have no idea how to properly manage a web design business. So here are some of the questions. I don't know if a contract should be signed or not. Contracts should be signed for sure. Now, when you write a contract for your web development or web design, any contract, you have two copies. You have a copy for you and you have a copy for your client. And you should both sign each contract. So, everybody's got the same contract. So for sure have a contract. I don't know how to write that contract or just find one online, or maybe I should ask a lawyer for advice. Lawyer, I don't think is really necessary for web development contracts, web design contracts. My advice for contracts is keep them very simple, very much to the point, and short little paragraph, 2, 3 sentences, a few bullet points, short little paragraph, a few bullet points, your signatures. That's it. Date the contracts, so everybody knows the dates. And remember my 33 split video where I talk about how you should get paid? And that should be specified in the contract. Specify what is going to be delivered on the first draft, what is the time frame, how you expect to be paid, these sorts of things. I might put out a contract template for people if people ask for it. You can ask me and I'll put something out for you. Next question. I also don't know if I should resell hosting and charge for maintenance, or if I do, how much should I charge for maintenance? Well, first of all, when you're reselling hosting, I've done it. Understand it could be a pain in the butt, especially when it comes to setting up their email. People are going to be, I lost my email. I don't know what to do with my email. So you got to understand it's a bit of an issue. So when you turn to reselling hosting, you have a few options. You have these turnkey hosting solutions like Web Host Manager, very commonly used, and it just makes it much easier to manage hosting. And you could rent a server from a big provider, a big company, and may cost you $80 a month, $100 a month, and then you can put all kinds of websites on there, basic website hosting. And a lot of these things come with turnkey scripts like instant WordPress, instant this, instant that, setting up your databases. So you don't have to be a Linux or Unix expert or server expert, and you could set up hosting. Now, understand, when you're getting into the hosting business, it could be problematic. Now, it could be a great thing as well. Now, we have hosting at Killer Sites, I've been doing it for many years, but about 10 years ago, something like this, I sold the hosting to a third-party company, and I get residuals. So I get my residuals on that, and I still get the residuals, but I don't have to do anything. They take care of phone support and tech support and renewals and all this kind of stuff. But I make much less on a per client basis than I did before, because my interest was not to become a big hosting provider. So hosting could be very cool because you get this money coming every month, all the time, and people don't typically change their hosting because it's a big pain to do it. It's like changing your bank accounts. People don't do it. But because hosting is commoditized now, what that means is that everybody and his neighbor can do hosting now. It's hard to get hosting clients. So remember, if you're going to be getting into the hosting, remember, it could be a pain in the pain. You can get a call at 5 o'clock, our emails are not working. Why isn't it working? And it's usually going to be something on their end. They set up their computer wrong, and they expect you to be on the phone and to walk them through. So it can be big headaches. So if you're going to get into hosting, especially typical small business hosting, you're not going to make much, because they're looking at $7, $8, $9, $10 a month. Maybe you might be able to get like an extra support fee, a monthly fee, a retainer fee, depending on the clients. But remember, it's usually something where you have to, if I was going to get into hosting, I would be planning, that's my business long term, to be in hosting, where you get a lot of people, so you can afford to bring in staff who could take all these calls, these tech support calls about why they lost their email address, password, or something to consider. I outsourced it. I rather make less but not have to deal with headaches than to get into the hosting business. And then there's more advanced hosting. Now you get all this cloud hosting that's going on. It's much more sophisticated, and there's virtualized hosting, which is cloud. It's a whole world in of itself. Could be some good money in it, but it's a long slog. So if you want to be a developer, I would be about getting into hosting. I know a good friend of mine went into it and he wanted to get out of it about 6 months later because it was just a pain in the derriere in the bottom. How much you charge for maintenance, for hosting, that depends on the contract, depends on how elaborate their needs are. So you have to really sit down and try to figure how much time it's going to take, and you can put that in a contract. You know, if you charge them $50 a month or 75 bucks per month for support, they get how much support? 2 hours a month max. They may not use it. If they don't use it, they lose it for that month, but that's how I would do it. So there you go. I don't know which way is the best to offer support for a website, email or Skype or both. Well, I would always start with email because with Skype, you sort of have to be there. Email, you can address it a little later. You can check, okay, it's not an emergency. I can talk to them. I can address it 2 hours from now or next day. You can do Skype. You can do both. You can do Facebook Messenger if they do that. Whatever you feel comfortable with. I like email because it's a nice record. You can keep a record of your communications with them. You can, you can use Gmail or whatever and just store it. It doesn't cost you much. That's a way of doing the support. You might have to consider phone support as well, especially with business accounts who may have 10 employees and they lose their email addresses, and then you're in all kinds of trouble. I'm just checking my time here. All right, we're good. Anyway, how can I easily let the client know at what stage I am in the process of building his website, and how can I make this information available to him at any time? Now, send him an email. In your original contract, you should say the first draft is going to be delivered in 2 weeks, for example. Now, if you say 2 weeks, you better plan that it's only going to take you a week, to account for problems. So that's another thing when you're planning out your projects. A good rule of thumb is to double your expected time. So if you think something's going to take you a month, say it's going to take you 2 months. If you get it done in a month, great. If you don't get it done in a month, you're not going to be late. You see what I mean? So in terms of communication, you let them know. If you just say in the contract, the first draft is going to be delivered in 2 weeks. You set the date in the contract. You're going to get paid your second, third. In that case, if you haven't seen my 33 split video, you should watch that. You understand this. So yeah, that's what I would do. I would definitely just send an email. So your first draft is out. I'm going to show you it. I expect payment, and then the next draft will be out. And again, email is good that way because you can keep nice records of that. Or of course you can do that with messengers as well. It depends what the client. The client may prefer email. The client may prefer Skype. Who knows? But always remember, you want to keep a digital trail, a time-stamped, a date-stamped record of all your communications with your clients. So everybody has context in terms of timelines. And so if you say, I'm going to deliver in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from when? Well, August 1st, 2016. So that means you're going to have it in 2 weeks from there, August, 14th, you get the idea. Timing, context, documentation, time-stamped, very important to avoid disputes. By having all this clearly and plainly presented to the client up front, avoids problems. You don't count on people's memories. People's memories play tricks on them, especially when it comes to money. How can I make it? In terms of making it, it's not a big deal. How do you make it available to your client where you're at? You want to also set parameters that he's not micromanaging, he or she is not micromanaging you. First draft out in 2 weeks. That's when you open communication with them. Okay, we got our first draft. The only time if you need to communicate with them beforehand is because you need some information to deliver that first draft. But you got to set the parameters that they're not on top of you. They're not your boss. You're doing contract work for them, but they're not in your soup every day, messing around with you. You know what I mean? So, I would restrict communication. Otherwise, it can be a headache. So I'm just reading the rest of this question. Also, that's pretty much it. I think I covered this guy's questions. If I missed anything, Soren, you know how to reach me. I hope this is useful for everybody. These are rules, by the way, that I didn't just read on other people's blogs. I've been coding since 1994. I started my first business when I was 18. It was outside of technology. So this is from over 2 decades of experience working as either a freelancer, having a web design studio, having my own startups, working with other startups, on contracts for multinational publicly traded companies. So I bring over 20 years of experience into what I am discussing with you now. I hope you find it useful. If you have questions, feel free to ask. I'm actually responsive to my YouTube community at this point in time. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed. Ciao.